Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for joining this afternoon. We might have us an intimate crew, so get ready to be your most vulnerable. My name is Danielle Putnam. I'm your host today. Really, I'm not. I'm just facilitating the conversation between your real hosts, Fred Graber and Jonathan and Kimberly Perez. Welcome, everybody. Good to see y'all. Melody will let people in as they join, but today we're going to be talking about resisting bad habits. This is a profit discussion. We've got business owners on the call talking about bad habits that we have in business and how we can resist them, and also about our upcoming Business Uncensored annual conference and the different things that we learn at Business Uncensored, how we can apply them to our businesses, especially when it comes to bad habits and changing our ways. So I know that all of us, as you're thinking, by all means, let those wheels and gears go. We're thinking of many habits that we have in our lives that may not be the best, and how do we change those and replace them with new and hold on to those new habits. So Melody, I believe you're pulling up a video. Give me a thumbs up if it's ready, and we will actually start with that.
The Profit Talk one?
The clip that you prepared.
Okay.
The Profit Talk one sounds great. This clip is going to be from a past Business Uncensored event where Rodney talked about profit, and it's just about 2 minutes long, I believe. So this is a short video clip that we'll all watch together just to kind of zone in and start to focus on the talk of money.
Okay, I have headphones on. Tell me if you can't hear it, okay?
Okay.
So we developed a thing that we've shared with many of you called 2020. We've said when you start using the new flat rate, I want you to get to 2020. $20,000 in savings and $20,000 in working capital. So all your bills are paid, you got $20,000 in the bank, 20 in someplace else. How many have done that? Oh my gosh, look at that. Hooray. Hooray. Yeah, give yourselves a hand. We have to get to the place where we make decisions from financial stability instead of financial desperation. And now we've got a tool that we can do that with, so that's exciting. All right. So if you're in business to make a profit and you steal the profit, now here's the thing. If you steal from profit, and if you take profit and spend it, you are stealing it. If you steal from profit, you're destroying the thing called business. You're actually lying to yourself. You're saying, oh, that money is available, I can use that. That's a lie. It's an absolute lie. We've been taught business is one thing, but we act another way. What if there's not enough money? You can only do what you can do, right? When there's not enough money? The thing that saved me from going insane, from going absolutely crazy, was this one statement. I can only do what I can only do. You know? When a creditor would call and say, hey, we got to have $15,000 today. What would I think? Hey, I can only do what I can only do. If I had the money, by George, it'd be yours. Matter of fact, I'd have been over there this morning with a cup of coffee and some donuts in the money, but I don't have it. So when I get it, I'll give you a call. I can only do what I can do. You work your way out of the situations. Now, you don't pay everything, but you do what you can do, but you don't touch the profit. You have to begin putting the profit aside.
Thank you, Melody. I'd like to open the mics up for Fred, Jonathan, and Kimberly to introduce yourselves and answer this question. And thank you so much for being willing to be our special guest today. Thank you for sharing with us your experiences, what you've learned, what you've struggled with, so that we can all learn and grow. And I know that's not always easy to do. So thank you so much for being willing. And we'll start with, I see Jonathan talking, and Fred's unmuted. So we'll start with you, Fred. If you'll introduce yourself, and then also the question of, did you ever feel like you made financial decisions out of desperation?
So Fred Graber from Mechanical Man, Goshen, Indiana. Is that all you want for an introduction? Anything else?
Well, I mean, I think everybody, a lot of us know you, but not everybody.
Okay.
So anything else? Tell us a little bit about your family and how long you've been in business. Why are you still in the trades?
So I've been in business since 1997. So this fall it'll be 29 years, maybe.
Wow.
Sounds about right. 28 years or 29, something like that. But the I've got 4 kids from my first wife. I'm still married to her, even though I've been in business for 29 years. So um, that's not something everybody can say. So kudos to her for putting up with me and stuff through some of these cycles. Have I ever made a financial decision out of desperation? Uh, certainly have done that. Even in the last 18 months. So, do you want any elaboration on that or?
Yeah.
So 2022 was a pretty good year for us. Had we hit a new record sales number. It was we hit my goal number that I had, and I was happy that we did. And we made not as much profit as would have looked like to, but a decent profit. And then all of a sudden, it was like about January 15th, like it was just felt like somebody just shut the phone off. It just stopped and it was kind of nuts. And I had known that I got to start working on my marketing game. And so I was trying to figure out what to do about marketing, and I ended up just kind of like jumping in and hired a company that just like takes care of everything. And it was expensive. And because I was just like, I just need somebody to help me do this. And I was just like, just gonna throw money at this problem and hope that it works. And yeah, it did, in the fact that we started seeing our numbers come up and more calls come in and all that. But it was a really expensive solution, and it wasn't really completely accounted for, and it ended up that we ended up not even making a profit at all in 2023 then. So we actually had a loss. And so but that was a decision made out of desperation. And it was something that I knew I needed to do something about it. I knew I needed to do something about it, but being really busy and COVID, free money, all kinds of stuff it just kept our phones going. And if you would have asked anybody if spending 0.5% on marketing was enough, they would have probably said no. And so we weren't spending enough on marketing to really make it work, and we had to do something. And so I just did a Hail Mary, and but anyhow, so that's one. So
That's a fantastic example, Fred. Thank you so much for sharing that. And just today, I was at a business peer networking group, and one of these financial, really, really smarter than me kind of people listened to a problem that I've got in business and said, "Oh, Danielle, I know exactly what you have to do. You need to go to the bank today, take out a loan for $250,000, and hire the right people for that position." I was like, "Oh my gosh, that sounds perfect. I'll do that." So then I called my CFO before this call. I was like, "Hey, Sean, guess what? This really smart guy just told me to do." Sean's like, "That's the craziest yuckity 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 yuck I've ever heard. Don't you do such a thing?" I was like, "Okay, okay." But out of that desperation to solve a problem, we often do things in the emotion of the moment because we're desperate. And so, thank you, Fred, for sharing that story. Jonathan and Kimberly, would you introduce yourselves? I don't know which of you would like
I'll
to speak
go.
first. Jonathan, awesome.
I'm Jonathan Perez with now Amelia's Best Comfort Solutions here on Amelia Island in Florida. Kimberly and I have been business owners since 2004. We started Cool Masters in Atlanta, and we sold it June of last year. And we decided to punish ourselves even further and start a brand new business in a brand new market. And here we are. So we have 2 kids. My son is 24 and in the Navy, and he's expected home tomorrow. I got word of that, so that's kind of cool. And our daughter is 12 years old, almost 13, going into the 8th grade here in Fernandina Beach. And anything else you want to add to that? I guess that's it. So,
Rash decision
making, desperation, financial desperation. We've been there. Kimberly and I, our first 10 years in business, in the summertime, you think you're profitable and you think you're making all this money, and then and it was like clockwork. The off season would hit in October, November. It's definitely December. Our phones would die, and the money we would see that what we had would completely be depleted come February, and we were like, okay, how do we make payroll for the employees, and how do we keep everybody going? And that was an endless cycle for probably the first 10 years that we were in business. And I have to tell you that, watching a video one night at, I don't know, it had to be 1:30 in the morning in my kitchen. I came across one of Rodney's videos on the new flat rate, and talking about exactly the problem we were going through, because I was so tired of the cycle of it was either feast or famine. We were doing great, and then we had nothing. I mean, to the point the year that I'm talking about, I sold my car to make payroll for the week, because it was the first time we couldn't make payroll, and I just couldn't have that. I couldn't have my employees get checks that weren't good. So I remember selling my car, to make payroll, and that was the last time we were ever in that kind of trouble. And and we did something about it. I did my research on the new flat rate, and then we got involved with Freedom Builders, and then we got involved with Business Uncensored, and we haven't not been profitable now in probably 8 years now. Am I right? Ish. Longer than that. Yeah. So like the off season, we actually look forward to it now. We look forward to a slower, let's wind down kind of season, because we have built up the reserves and the profit from the summer season, and we also learned to diversify. But I guess we'll get there in a later on with more of offerings. Rather than just heating and air conditioning, we again, at a Business Uncensored meeting one year, it was, I got to refer back to Rodney. He had said, well, what do we have in our tool chest that we can use to do other things? And, it was pressure washers, it was shovels, it was rakes, and it was all kinds of electrical tools. And so we decided, hey, we can hang televisions, we can, install smoke detectors, we can, clean gutters, so we've really, adapted everything most of the things that we've learned from Business Uncensored.
That's really good. Thank you for sharing. And our next question that kind of organically led into it was going to be, what are the key strategies you took away from Business Uncensored to maximize your profit in the competitive market? And so you guys have done such a great job at looking at what do you have and how can you keep the business going. Is there anything specific that you've done to maximize the profit and to protect it?
Are you talking? Am I still green?
Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
great.
Yeah, so we've learned to charge what we're worth. We've learned that we're not racing to the bottom to be the cheapest out there. We have to show our value, and we've done that in a lot of different ways. Here on where we are right now, we are the only heating and air company on the island that is uniformed.
Wow.
So we show up in a uniform with our name and our logo, and it's clean, and we're neat, and we wear a belt, and we, where the other companies are, in a t-shirt and ripped shorts and driving around raggedy kind of vehicles. So, we show our value, just the impression that people get when we knock on the door, and it's not a guy with a cigarette hanging out of his mouth and a ripped t-shirt, so we have that going for us. And we also learn to charge what we're worth, and it's okay to not be the cheapest guy out there. that was always my problem is, oh, they're not going to select me because I cost more. You know, it was they can find it cheaper elsewhere. But you know, cheap isn't good and good isn't cheap. I've always heard that too. So, and I want to be good. I want people
Mhm.
to have, you know, the ability to make the decision whether or not they want to. Hold on one second. I got visitors. I'm in a meeting right now. So welcome back though.
Thank you.
All right. I want people to be able to make the decision whether they want, you know, Chuck in a truck or if they want someone that's going to be reputable. And as far as you know, the things that we've learned to do, you know, in the off season, I mean, when we're in people's homes, we'll ask, is there anything else we can do for you? And you know, and you'll be surprised what, you know, especially in our area, in our community right now, we have a lot of seniors. You know, you'll be surprised at, you know, where they say, you know what, I would love to hang my TV on my wall, or I would love to
Mhm.
have surround sound. I literally just did this 2 weeks ago for one of our customers. She said, I just can't hear my TV. And I told her, you know what, but we can install surround sound, you know, and it's something that we just know how to do. And it was easy. And we made someone very, very happy. And all she could do is tell all her friends. And now I have little old ladies asking for surround sound to be installed in their homes. So, yeah, but yeah, I have to hand it. I have to hand it to you know, the program that y'all have built there has really helped us out. To have somebody in our corner there to help has been, you know, just absolutely priceless for us. It really, really has been. You can see Matt was here, you know, just the other day. So we were brainstorming and doing some things, um, yeah, anything else I can add to that? I don't know, Danielle.
That was so good, and we'll keep coming back to that.
Okay.
Um, could you add to that resisting bad habits? So as you're looking for opportunities and now you're doing surround sound and stuff, what bad habits come to mind that you maybe used to would have done, whether it's taking every call or charging too little, or like what
Or
bad
going
habits have
out
you
and
had to really
doing
change?
it. You know, I remember going out and flipping that switch and telling a customer, oh, it was
Mhm.
only, it was, and completely devaluing, you know, our knowledge and our ability,
Mhm.
because if they could have fixed it, they would have. Okay. And they needed you. And I can't tell you in the 28 years I've been in this industry, how much money I just left there. But now what we do, if it's just that switch, if it's just something, it's never just, you know, I found a fault, we took care of it. You know, it was luckily it was, but while I'm here, I'm going to go over everything and make sure it's okay, because they're paying me, you know, a substantial diagnostic, and you know, I'm not cheap, like we said.
Mhm.
So I want you to get the value out of the visit. So I'm going to be thorough and
Mhm.
show you that we're going to be, you know, we're going to do the best job we can do. And then when you're thorough and you add to that, you may find other things that you can, you know, that can be billable. But
Mhm.
I can't tell you how many times I've gone out, yeah, and then giving discounts left and right. You know, there's, you know, I Matt made a really good point. I remember when I told him, you know, when we were doing our maintenance agreement customers in Atlanta, we were giving a 15% discount. And he's like, 15%? That's like, you know, that's literally your profit that you're just giving away. And I'm like, well, I mean, but they're maintenance agreement customers. And he made the point, who else is going to be a maintenance agreement customer? People you like. They're maintenance agreement customers because they trust you. And it's not about, you know, it's not about the discount, you know, it's about just showing your value, showing your worth. And so we've really we've changed a lot with that mindset. Yeah, that was another thing Kimberly said. We used to go outside of our service area. Someone would say, well, we're you know, we live in, and they were ended up being 10 miles out of our service area. And then we're like, oh, it's only 10 miles. But then they would tell their friends, and now we're going further out. And then they would expect you to, if there was a problem, they would expect you to be right out to them. So we've really honed in on our service area, and we don't travel outside of the service area anymore.
Yeah, we all pay for our education, don't we, in one way or another?
Sure.
And that comes with the resisting the bad habits is learning to set those boundaries. And that's a great example, the service area of this is where we work. We do not go an inch past it for the protection of the business.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so good. Fred, what are the key strategies that you have taken away from Business Uncensored to maximize profit in a competitive market? And I know you do have a competitive market.
So I think probably one of the first things that comes to my mind is with a diversified offering, where a lot of times you see companies get to a larger company before they offer multiple trades. But I started out the business doing multiple trades because I was doing plumbing, HVAC, and electrical on new homes prior to starting my business. And so I had experience in all three. And so we started out kind of doing all of it right away. And one of the things that, when you're doing construction, that doesn't really matter. But once you start getting into the service business, being able to do plumbing and electrical work as well. And we also do generator installations, repair and service. And today is not, yeah, we had big storms through here last night. So today people are calling with generators. I actually had to kind of lay down the law with the CSRs, tell them like, look, like we are booked out more than a week right now. You can't take any new customer generators just because they're desperate to have their generator fixed because they're out of power. And I'm like, because we have all these other people that we've made promises to, you know. But no, that diversified offering has helped because plumbing breaks 24/7, 365. Electrical things go bad 24/7, 365. But one thing that's really nice about electrical is that most of the time the electrical issues are not catastrophic, and it's like I have this outlet in this one room that doesn't work and it's annoying me, or I need a ceiling fan installed. And so that becomes work that can kind of go on the flex list and can plug a hole in the schedule. Or if it's on the schedule and you got a real emergency for a high priority customer, you can be like, hey, Mrs. Smith, I know we had you scheduled for your ceiling fan, but I have a customer that doesn't have any hot water. Would it be okay if I put them in front of you? And most people are pretty accommodating on that, but it just helps. It helps have the diversity helps our schedule be less seasonal than it would be otherwise. So that's one thing that we do to protect the profit. I mean, I think because right there, I mean, the biggest killer of profit is not having enough sales.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a machine, I mean, I know we got different sizes of companies, represented here, but as of right now, we have 15 people in the field, and we have 5 people working in the office outside of besides myself, and we have a full-time salesperson too that's commissioned, and so it's a pretty hungry beast
Mm-hmm.
to pay to pay for the building we have and utilities and all those trucks on the road. It's just there's a lot of overhead there, and when the sales starts to tank, I mean the first thing to go is the profit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we might have good margins on the tickets we did, but if we didn't do enough of them, it just the profit's not going to be there, or you're going to be negative. And so having the sales there, and I think the other along with that is just really working on the marketing strategy to try to make sure that there's something that's making the phone ring all the time. And um and that's probably been the biggest change. And so this is going to sound maybe backwards, but this is something that's actually kind of new for me, is realizing that part of protecting the profit is how I invest the portion of the money that I have. Because like when it came to the marketing, you know, I alluded to that before. But what I found was that, you know, I kept saying to myself, well, why do I want to spend so much time? Why do I want to spend that money on marketing to make the phone ring for calls that I don't have time to do right now? And
Mhm.
the, well, the answer is the reason I want to is because if my marketing is working right in the shoulder season to keep my schedule full, yeah, it's going to give me overflow in the busy season. But if I don't spend that money on the marketing, then, you know, instead of, you know, having 12 or $15,000 in my budget maybe for the month for marketing, because oh my gosh, I can't spend that $12,000. I might be $80,000 short in sales or something like
Mhm.
that. And then I don't make enough money to pay the bills that we have. And um, so that's probably a new strategy for me, like, you know, to making sure I'm actually spending enough to
Yeah.
keep my profit, which is seemed a little bit counterintuitive for me. Um, Probably one of the number one things, this is been going through a lot of changes the past year. Um, like I said, not making any profit last year. I'll just be honest, kind of sucked, you know.
Mhm.
And you know, and I'll be, you know, I mean, I still paid myself a decent salary and all that, but it's just, you know, when you look at the books at the end of the year and you didn't make any money, it's just like, why did I do that? Why am I doing all
Mhm.
this? You know, and as part of the process been going through here, we've been getting some help from Roger Daviston, and we've just been doing some things that are much more effective. But you know, when it comes to, you know, we have a daily budget number for, like, you know, what our sales is, and every day, like, you know, where are we at? If we're going to be open 20 days this month, you know, what do we have to bring every day to hit budget, you know? And where are we at? Okay, we're $50,000 behind as of today. Okay, we have work in progress that's not, you know, been billed, or, you know, what's going on, you know, knowing why we're there or how we're going to get there, that we're going to make our budget by the end of the month. Um, never ever did that before. And we're going to be breaking that down into even like, what's our service budget and what's our
Mhm.
install budget for every month, so that we, you know, okay, well, service is doing really good. Service is ahead of budget. Install is behind. Why are they? You know, so on and so forth. The But another thing that's brand new for me this year, um, most of you probably haven't gotten an email from me, but if you have gotten an email from me, I put a new title on myself this year, and I call myself the CSO, and that's the Chief Stewardship Officer. Um, and it was just kind of one of those things that I don't know. One Sunday morning at church, I felt the Holy Spirit just impressed it on me that, you know, hey, you know, you are the steward of this ship, and there's a lot of people depending on you and depending on these decisions, and it's not really yours. You know, you're to steward this. It's not about you, and the profit isn't about you. Where I think before, my attitude was, hey, I worked my ass off. The profit is mine to do as I
Mhm.
wish. Um, and a bad habit is that when I would start to see the profit in the you know, when I can see the profit coming in down the road, it's not in the bank yet, but I'm
Mhm.
like, yeah, we're doing pretty good, and we're gonna this big job, we're gonna finish that, you know, yeah, we should have the cash for that, you know, and I just I'd allow myself to go ahead and spend money that we hadn't really made yet, because, you know, something annoyed me, you know, like, I'm pissed off at that old trailer or something, and or that tool's a piece of junk, you know, let's just get a new one, you know.
Mhm.
And you know, sometimes you have to make those decisions, sometimes, but I would make him maybe a little bit prematurely. And so I just taking a look at everything and, trying to make sure we're making the right decisions, the volume we're doing, purchasing decisions make a lot of, and so, I have a really good guy running my warehouse and purchasing, and he does a lot to make sure we're buying competitively, stuff like that, and just doing smart things like we're looking at getting into using press fittings for refrigerant. Well, we found that when we aligned ourselves with the right supplier for those fittings, if we would buy $1,000 worth of fittings on one invoice, we could get a free press toolkit, and it's just, we just looked at iWallet the other day and discovered that we could save between $25,000 and $30,000 on credit card processing fees over Service Titan by using iWallet, and so finding that, like, when I was smaller, like, I would not, there was decisions I'd be like, it's not that much money, whatever, but it's the same percentage, but now at a bigger scale, it starts to become the impact, like, hey, if you did this thing and you did that thing, you could hire another whole person and employ another whole person with that money. And, but I think, and that kind of comes back to this whole thing of like, how can I make my money work for me? And how can I, instead of just thinking, well, it'd be nice to make that money once, and, and then I'm going to do this, or, I'm going to pay off something, or I'm going to, buy, I don't know, something for myself, or whatever it is, the bottom line is, like Rodney said in the video, I was stealing the profit, and some of it was being stolen just because I didn't want to be bothered. I didn't want to deal with something that was going on. And so I just let money be pissed away. And so, yeah, I don't know, that's a long answer to your question.
It's so good, Fred, because that pain forces change. And so if you embrace it and
Yeah.
learn from it and use it for the right change, the whole iron sharpens iron. We've got to go in the fire and have that pressure of no profit to realize, holy heck, I don't ever want to go through that pain again. And so you have really elevated the way that you're running your business, having your budgets and then your departments. You've elevated the way that you're thinking about your business and thinking about your profit and everything. And so really it was kind of a blessing possibly to not be profitable last year, because it's forced such good change on you. And so then how are you going to resist those bad habits to keep that change in place?
I think that, well, I know that when as of last month, we became profitable for the year, because as we're working through some of this stuff, we did have a couple months that weren't profitable. And, and it's even, but we're still profitable even after, paying extra coaching money and all that kind of stuff. But I'm like, Matt and I have talked for 3-4 years about, hey, putting that profit away, like Profit First recommends, and I'd always be like, well, doesn't make sense if you have money on your line of credit to put money in your savings, but I mean, I have money in savings, and it's not, to some people it might be a lot, but based on the amount of business we do, it's really not that much. We're gonna we're probably aiming toward 4.2, 4.5 million this year, and I got like $90,000 in savings. So it's
It's
not,
awesome.
I mean, it's a nice little cushion, but it's not that much. I had to, last week, I had to go ask a customer to pay a bill right away, because it was a big commercial job we were doing. And I had I had bills to pay laying on front of my desk that I could have waited to pay till the end of the month, but they had early pay discounts. One vendor was $4,000 early pay discount.
Wow.
And so, and it was like $213,000 I had to pay that vendor. And so I called the customer, I just emailed the customer and I said, hey, I know you just got your bill on the 3rd from us for the job, for the work from last month, but you know, hey, we rely on being able to take the early pay discounts to help keep us competitive in the marketplace. And just wondering if we could come pick up a check. And he sends me a message back, which one of these invoices do you want paid? And I said, well, how about these two? And then they paid 4 of them. And my tech came back with a check for $247,000. And we took it to the bank, deposited it, and took all of our early pay discounts, you know. And so that's real money that just went to our bottom line, you know, because I asked.
Yeah.
You know, so
And complacency really steals our profit too, I think.
yeah.
When we're under pressure and then we get stuck in the bad habit of, I don't want to take the time to ask right now, or I'll deal with this later. And we
I
become
hope they'll
complacent.
pay, you know.
Yeah.
No, just ask. I mean, if they wouldn't have paid, I probably would have, you know, got into my line of credit and paid part of it, but my line of credit wasn't big enough to do that because I would have known I'd have the money in like 8 or 10 days, you know. And but still, it's now I took all of it and I didn't have to dip into my line of credit to even do it, you know. And so yeah.
Yeah, it's a great story. I love it. Jonathan and Kimberly. Kimberly, we haven't heard much from you, so feel free to chime in anytime.
I'm chiming in the background.
Well, since your mic's open, can you talk about any bad habits that you know, because you're a business owner too, just a separate side than Jonathan. So what bad habits have you had to resist and how have you changed over the past couple of years?
I mean, I would say that, you know, a bad habit, and it's really both on my part and in the field, not collecting up front. I mean, that became a habit of some of our techs and in the office too. You know, we'll give them 30 days, we'll give them 45 days, but you know, we got in the habit of not asking at the time of service, which became a terrible habit to get into. Because then they start doing it with everybody and without asking, you know, there's becomes that habit of, you know, not collecting, which then in turn causes more work in the office and having to collect and getting people on the phone. And so that was a habit that we got out of. Right, Jonathan? But that was a bad habit. What other things? I'm trying to think office wise became a bad habit. Sound is on.
Yeah, I hear you good.
So you know, and you know, with trying to push people out, like customers out, especially if we were taking people that were outside of our service area, you know, coming here and starting something new, you always want to take every call and keep every call, you know, in-house if you can. But taking on some of those things like doing surround sound and things like that kind of kept us going in the interim until now we're very busy and now we're looking for more people. But just getting in habits like that can, you know, if you start off that way, and that's what I always tell Jonathan, if you start off that way, it's going to continue that way. So starting a new business here, we're trying to start everything in the right way. You know, we learned our bad habits from our bad habits that we had with our previous company, and starting new and starting over is a new beginning. So we try to take what we've learned from our previous business and being in the industry and what we did then and making those things into new habits that are better ways to run a business and, you know, involved in the business as much as we can, as well as working in the business and on the business at the same time.
Yeah, you guys have such a great clean slate. And so if you can keep resisting bad habits and just keep with the new ones, you're going to be ahead of the game. Hang on, I Bluetoothed away and I lost y'all for a second. Okay, can you hear me okay? My phone
Yep.
went back and forth. I went in the field last week. Some of you guys saw my post on the managers chat, and it was such a treat. I don't get to do that very often. And so I went down just north of Atlanta and rode along with a new tech that was just down in Georgia from New York. And he'd only been using the new flat beret for about a month. He really hadn't been trained on it. And so when I asked the company, hey, by the way, can I come ride along out in the field just to observe what's going on out in the front lines? He's like, yeah, somebody's coming down. They get the new tech. And I thought, well, shoot, I don't know that I am the one that you are expecting for that, but let's see how it goes. And it was such a treat to be able to watch the processes and feel the pressure points that the technician feels with the interactions of the customer. And what I'm bringing this up to is, like Kimberly said, is when it comes time for asking for money, we showed up on this service call and the lady just wanted to talk to her dad about it. She wanted to take pictures of the price. She wanted to think about it, ask around, and then maybe come back. So it was looking like a diagnostic only. And I felt pressured. I was like, there's no way we're doing a diagnostic only when I'm here on this call. And so I kept nudging, my new best friend, the tech, and saying, no, follow the rest of the script, follow the rest of the script. And then at the end, I was like, well, we have these options for you. And so he shows, the options. And so she asks about the bronze. And she decides finally, okay, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go with the bronze. Of course, what should you do? And so then he's like, all right, well, and so he turns around to start walking out. I was like, no, follow the rest. And so he's like, would you like to take care of that by check or credit card? She's like, oh, okay, great. So it was a little bit of a dicey beginning. And I thought for sure we were maybe going to get kicked out. But when he asked, would you like to take care of it? All of a sudden she writes us a check for that. It was $681, which was wonderful. And she was so happy to hand that check. And instantly, as we walked back out to the truck to get the tools, I shared that relief with the technician of, oh, good, she's already paid. She's already, given us the problem. Now all we have to do is fix it. And so back to, when we can ask for the money up front, that pressure changes. And it was really neat for me to see that in the field so that I can really advocate for that and say, yes, Kimberly, keep your techs asking for the money up front.
Yes.
That is very true. I found that too, and I know I'm talking through Kimberly's computer right now, but that is very true. Once they pay you, their problem is not their problem anymore.
Mm-mm.
It really is. That's an amazing step that's in the new flat rate, is to, take care of the paperwork before we go out and make the repair. And I mean, it is a complete change in the customer's attitude. And you can almost sense their relief is instantaneous.
Mm-hmm.
And getting everybody on board, that's a huge part, because I know, well, most of us seasoned know my technician over there that was in the field that had such a hard time with getting in that process of offering it and going through the script and doing it. And finally, I just delete out of it that he didn't have a choice. And it didn't give him the option to choose anything else. So, just making sure that everybody is on board and everybody's doing it. Not only does it make your company look more uniform, because they're not always going to have the same guy, but it really works, and it makes you stand apart from everyone else.
It takes the pressure off the technician to sell too.
Yes.
Yeah, that pressure, watching those pressure points was the best. Ron, you asked a question. Yes, we would love to share the recording so you can pick up on the beginning things that these wonderful friends shared. And then Stacy, you had a question to expand on this?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Question. We do a good job at collecting up front at the beginning. What turns around and bites us is when it's a capacitor or a contactor. We collected that up front. Then we go fix the repair. Now it's low on Freon. We have to go back and collect more money to charge it on Freon. You can't really tell that until you get it started.
Yeah, but
we've learned to warn the customer, this is the repair cost so far until I can get it started and check the Freon level.
Jonathan probably has a better answer for that than I do, but that's the call we went on Thursday. Yeah. And so what we did was we set the timer for 45 minutes to do our diagnosis, and then we were prepared to have the discussion of extended diagnosis, because we thought there might be a refrigerant leak and stuff too. And so we changed out the capacitor to test it. And so go ahead, Jonathan, and expand on that. And then we showed options that would kind of do everything.
So can you mute you, please? So I will, sorry about that. So what I typically do is if it's a blown capacitor and, it's something obvious like that, I'll go in and show my options, but I'll also let them know once I have the system up and running, we're going to be very thorough. We're going to check everything else. And and I always, and I steal this from Matt, should I find anything else wrong with the unit? Do you want me to just forget I saw it, or do you want me to come in and talk to you about it? And, who's going to tell you, forget you saw it? And they're going to want to have that conversation. But I always let them know, it's like, Ron too, or I'm sorry, who was that?
Stacy.
Stacy. If I go up on a failed compressor, compressors don't typically die, they're murdered. So there's no way for us to determine what killed that compressor, unfortunately, 95% of the time, until we put that compressor and start it up and find out that we have a plugged TXV or something else is going on. But I'll always say, once I get this up and running, I'm going to be very thorough and go through the system. And, should I find anything else, I'll come talk to you about it. So I always plant that seed, so they don't feel like we're, coming back and trying to get more money out of them.
Agreed. That's what we had to learn to do for that situation. Thank you.
I mean, that
Good question.
that
Go ahead.
situation comes up all the time, especially when you have electronics, like, PC boards or control boxes. Usually just tell the homeowner, this is what I found right now. If I should find anything in addition, I'll be glad to come back to you and present you with new options. If you say that up front before the repair even starts, you can't, it's awkward if you do it after you've been there. That's how we handle it.
And so it's identifying those yellow lights and calling that as, oh, it's possible this is going to be more than one issue. And if there's a yellow light, how can we plan to address it ahead of time?
Yeah, because you can't tell downstream of a component whether it works or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good, guys. Looks like we're getting Fred back. We lost him for a minute. Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back. We lost power and I just got a new computer and apparently something's not set up right with my backup, my power supply, and it shut my computer down and while the generator was starting and everything. So yay.
Welcome back. Think of any questions that you guys have. We've got just a little over 10 minutes left. Would love to hear from everybody, especially when you have a nice intimate group like this. But I do want to make sure to point out, Business Uncensored is our annual business owners conference and implementers and managers. It's our conference that we put together, not because we're great conference people, because we're not, but because we wanted to help our members to be able to connect with each other. We started to hear years ago, 6-7 years ago, so many stories from all of y'all that we came together about how can we bring them together. And that's why Business Uncensored, so we could help connect you guys to share with each other what you're experiencing and to learn from each other more. So it's coming up in October. If you're not already registered, I'd love to encourage you to take a look at the conference, ask us any questions, and definitely sign up and register. That looks like my nephew Isaiah in the background. Is it?
Yes.
Wow. Great to see you. I'm like, that looks like a familiar silhouette. So good to see you, Isaiah. So final question that I have before opening up the mics is, how did Business Uncensored prepare you as a small business owner to effectively manage your costs while still investing in growth? That's such a battle. Who would like to go first?
Danielle, can you repeat that?
Yes. Is that Sean as well?
No.
Oh, like all my relatives are down there? How did, and Kimberly, we can start with you too. How did Business Uncensored prepare you to effectively manage your costs while still investing in growth? Because we're talking about protecting your profit, And so you know you need to grow, but how do you control your costs while investing in that growth?
I mean, Business Uncensored has always been we always take something away when we come to any event that it encapsulates with the new flat rate or Freedom Builders. But there's always an aha, or always a moment of, this is not the way you should be doing things, that you should be trying, to do it this way. But coming with like-minded contractors and bouncing ideas off of each other, I think has been fantastic for us. And I don't know that that necessarily relates back to what Business Uncensored, but getting different ideas, like whether it be to install Ring doorbells or, do something outside of the box or think outside of the box. When you're a contractor, whether it be HVAC, plumbing, electrical, either way, or adding some of those services to your portfolio, other things that you can do to bridge that gap of, time down or downtime.
Yeah,
What were you going to say?
I would add to that, that Business Uncensored taught us about watching our numbers and understanding our numbers. And when we come back, we always want to cut off the fat, and the extra spending. So I think that's a big help too, is that it gives us the ability to understand what we're looking at as far as our numbers are concerned.
Thank you. That's good. Fred, did you have anything to add on that?
I can talk all day long, right? So, I think a couple things that I was kind of thinking of things a lot differently here, when we're just talking about this, being able to maximize the profit and stuff, or while managing the cost while investing in growth. Because I like nice service trucks, and I like having all the right tools on them, and I like stocking them well. So when I buy a truck and set it up and go, it's $100,000 when we do that. And so, but trying to really understand, what's it take to get that other truck on the road? Is it worth putting another truck on the road, or can I make another $200,000 out of each tech by investing in more training for them? Are they doing are they getting too many basics and band-aids? Or are they doing better? And so I remember Matt really pointing that out, that, maybe the best way to get your revenue up, because man, when you can actually get, when you take a truck from 300,000 to 500,000 in a year, magical things start to happen. And I've been blessed this year with hiring 2 techs that are really showing up, my techs that have been around for a while. And, it's just like, I'm just looking, I'm like, this is crazy, and they're just, they're probably averaging, $45 to $50 an hour a week, being on climbing pay, just because of the amount of sales they're doing.
Wow.
And they just knock it out. But the big thing is, but when you talk about growth, whenever you're going to have growth, you always got to invest. And I think one of the things I've lived off of is a scarcity mindset too many times, where I'm like, well, I don't want to stick my neck. I'll stick my neck out a little bit, but not too far, that if things go nuts and, the bottom drops out and I don't have any work, that I don't have like 12 truck payments and all this stuff, all these obligations I got to worry about, and I get concerned, well, if I hire another tech, I'm going to have enough work for him. But you know what? Every time I hire a good tech, they always bring work with them.
Mhm.
And they always sell, they always end up, they go out and they sell their day. My one plumber went and sold a $9,000 job this morning for redoing the plumbing in a basement. We got to dig up the sewer outside and do that, and, in the past, I would have maybe had a guy go out and similar thing and maybe try to do a $500 repair on this job, But they want it all fixed. They want it fixed right.
Mhm.
So, but the challenge on that is that, when we have the scarcity mindset, it's like, and we're thinking, well, if the worst thing happens, how did I protect myself and try to keep from losing my tail? Well, I mean, by doing that, I can also inhibit the amount of money that's coming in, you know. Um, so I had a tech I hired, I think he started in February, um, about a 4-year plumber, I think. And, he told me that he would, his goal is to do 40 grand a month, and I said, well, if you can do 40 grand a month, I'll pay you this. And you'll be on climbing pay. Um, I needed a truck. I had no extra trucks, and I looked around and couldn't find anything quick used. I ended up buying a brand new truck for him, $70,000. We bought all the tools and the Milwaukee pack outs and everything it needed. Probably spend $105,000 getting it up and going. But he's already done like $200,000 since February, and so, when I look at that, I'm like, he's almost he'll that entire investment will be paid for this year,
Mhm.
and so that's, it's a risk. I could have hired a tech that was a bum and would barely bring in enough to make the payments. And so there's so many things that go into making that investment successful. Number one is hiring the right person and being
Mhm.
willing to invest in the right person and give them everything they need to be successful. And it just, here it comes, Um, but I would say in the past, one of my things is, like, I used to think, like, how little can I charge and still be profitable? Like, that was my goal. How little can I charge and be profitable? I don't want to charge any more than I have to. Well, then whatever always happens is you always have things that come up that you never planned for. And,
Mhm.
a tech quits halfway through the year and you don't replace them for 3 months or 4 months, whatever it is. And then you never make the money you thought you were going to make. And so then any investing you did in growth completely eats all the profit. And one of the things that we did when we set up our profit sharing is that we set it up that 0 through 5% profit from the company, nobody gets anything. All that money stays in the company for growth and investment and stuff. So profit sharing doesn't start till after 5%. And so that's that goes down kind of hard for the people who are on profit sharing with me, my upper management team, like last year when we didn't make any money.
Mhm.
And because it's, they were hoping to make some extra and they didn't. And, and I feel bad that they didn't. I mean, it's not like they don't make a good living, but
Mhm.
I want them to make a ridiculous living, and, or one they could not even come close to competing with somewhere else. And so, you know, yeah, charge. But, you got to have enough, you got to charge enough to be profitable, but just having the right people that are willing to not be afraid to show a page with a $9,000 gold option on it, and say, well, we can take care of all of this, for this amount of money. And they go, yeah, let's do that. Um, we think people don't want to, we think that people don't want to pay premium money for, I got to type a message to another person here real quick. But we think that they don't want to pay for the services that we have because somehow we don't value them right. I believe we don't value our services. But if we just put it out there, if we put it out there like, oh, I don't know, my top options, $5,000, it takes care of all my concerns. They're kind of like, are you sure that's your top? Are you sure that takes care of all your concerns? You don't seem too certain about that. they're probably not going to even buy your bottom option maybe because you don't, there's something going on. But I'm like, like, hey, Danielle, my top option, it's my best option. It's my most permanent option, my most premium option. It's the one that really lets me take my time, do a great job. And quite frankly, it just takes care of all my concerns. If I do that today, I'm going to give you a 2-year warranty, and I'm going to do, I don't know, whatever it is we're going to do that, And when you say that, and it doesn't pain you at all in here to show them that option with that money, they're much more willing to buy it. And this is, I think this is where owners and service techs both get hung up there. They look at that dollar amount and they go, man, we're only going to spend $500 in parts on that $3,000 option. Man, wow. Why would they spend $3,000 with us? And we don't value ourselves, but when it doesn't pain us anymore, then all of a sudden it becomes much easier for them to buy. And that's the psychological thing that has to happen for people to be successful with that. And you can't really do it for them. They have to be okay. And they have to be okay with getting, if you're okay with getting nothing or a top option, oh, okay, you don't want to, I mean, oh, that's too much money. Oh, okay, well, oh, those are my options, I need my $89 service charge. And, but, if you do find you need help, please call us back, just not having a problem. So, yeah.
It's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Ron, I know that everybody is answering you through the questions. Otherwise, I was going to ask you a question next to the group, but they are, Ron had asked the question of if somebody chooses a top option and you don't have all the parts, once you start working, you realize you don't have all the parts, what should you do? And so Jonathan and Melody both told you. Did you see that? Otherwise, I can read it off to you because you might be in the car. So Jonathan says, before I present an option, I take an inventory of the truck to see if I have everything. When they make the decision and it happens to be a top option and I don't have it all, I'm prepared to let them know. We'll get most of it taken care of and make a return visit appointment.
Yeah, I saw that. Thanks.
Okay, great.
I've got a supplier who has a fantastic option, and I know not every supplier has this, but I think that it's worth asking your supplier if they'd be willing to do this. But one of our primary suppliers they came up with a thing called rapid response, and we can call in an order, and as long as it's within it's a 30-minute delivery radius from the supply house, they will guarantee to have that to us within 45 minutes for $49 extra. And by gosh, if I sold a platinum, I can't afford to leave and come back for that $49. And so I have techs that will just, they'll tell, well, you come back. I'm like, did you try rapid response? Well, I don't, like, why not? You would have been done.
A lot of suppliers are doing DoorDash too now.
Yeah.
I've actually started with one of our suppliers out here. I was out on a we also do pool heaters now because no one does them here on the island, so it's the same thing. We're just heating water instead of air. But what did I run out? I ran out of oxygen or acetylene or something from my torches. And I called them when I can be doing other things. They door dashed me in a acetylene tank. So and it was there in 20 minutes. So where it would take you 20 minutes there, 10 minutes in the store, 20 minutes back, you're still able to work. So a lot of them are doing DoorDash now. So ask around.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Guys, we're out of time. I cannot thank you enough, Jonathan, Kimberly, Fred, for just being so vulnerable, for being willing to share your learnings with us. I know this was really, really valuable for me. And anybody else? Is it good for everybody else?
I just want to say it's good to put a face to Fred's name.
Yeah, hi Ron.
Awesome.
I see you
Yeah.
on Facebook talking about stuff
Yeah.
here and there. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you did.
That's cool.
This was. We need to do more of this stuff. This is kind of nice.
Awesome. We're actually doing another one on the 31st, I believe. So we're gonna start doing more of these. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for telling us.
If you join FBU, there's a meeting like this every other week. So just saying.
Yeah. All right.
We miss FBU a lot.
Well, you can get back in if you want.
Yeah, we got to get back in.
Cool. Thank you guys so much. If you haven't registered already for Business Uncensored, holler, let us know. We'd love to get you signed up. You can find Business Uncensored at tnfrevents.com, or you can go to the New Flat Rate website to get the link to the Business Uncensored site to learn a little bit more, or Melody just put it in the chat there as well. So have a great rest of your day. Thank you for taking the time to be here. And Ron, thanks for saying that you enjoyed it. So we will be having these more often so that we can just continue to share
Yeah.
collectively
Right.
together. See you later. Thanks.
See you, everybody.
See you guys.